But no. So what should we do next? Should we Panerai or Patek? What do we think?
Well, we did Patek. Let's do our one PAM on the table tonight.
Perfect.
Actually, it's not a PAM. This one is not a PAM.
So this is a very special watch, folks. So this is a Panerai Ferrari, which we've talked about, and how these watches were actually making a comeback. I think we even moved off topic of people not liking the watch, and we're just talking about how much we love these watches.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's the good news.
The Panerai Ferrari, like a lot of the other Ferrari watches that that have been done, whether it be GP, Panerai, so on and so forth, really didn't hit in the beginning. And I think that true Panerai collectors didn't like that it didn't have Panerai on the dial. They didn't like the sort of the blatant representation of a Ferrari on there. It was a little bit too much in your face.
It was also a bit of a shotgun marriage. The 2005 to 2010 hookup between Ferrari and Panerai seems like the kind of thing that company fathers of both brands thought would be awesome. And I'm not sure that the rank and file collector for Panerai was totally enthused. Also because these watches were generally very low production and very expensive. Most of them were complicated, and Paneristi were not high dollar complicated watch guys back then. They were still used to those two-hand Unitas powered Luminors from the 90s. And this was a watch that cost $33,000 when it was
Did
new.
It really?
In 2007, in steel, $33,000.
That's just it's just funny money getting thrown around when you've got a steel Panerai retailing for $33,000.
And the story of these very closely parallels the story of the old manual wind Rolex Daytonas, where you could find them new in shops years after production ended. As late as 2015, I would still see these for sale new in Panerai dealers. And you know what? The folks who pounced back then are going to be rewarded in the long run, because this was the first Panerai Perpetual calendar.
First and last.
Yeah, along with its rose gold sister, the FER 16, this is the only Panerai Perpetual calendar. And the module is by Horological Royalty. If you're familiar with the Harry Winston Opus 9 and the Singer Track 1, those are the people, Agenor of Jean-Marc Wiederrecht, behind this watch. Many GPHG nominations. This is a high horology company that built this complication for Panerai. Out of Geneva, their factory is right alongside Audemars Piguet's Geneva operation and F. Pijorn's case and dial maker. These guys are the real deal, and you're getting this in a watch with a Valjoux 7750 base, both module and base, tough as nails, serviceable forever. It's a high horology watch that once had a high horology price, with 247 of these made for the 60th anniversary of Ferrari. This was actually a great occasion because I snuck into the New York's Jacob Javits Center in New York City using my school ID, claiming it was a press credential. Me and my cousin drank Ferrari's vino and ate their hors d'oeuvres for a beautiful afternoon of food and fun. So that was a special occasion for me, but this will be a special occasion for you, because this is a case that is neither Luminor nor Rodiumir. If you look at it, it's uniquely profiled, richly finished. Yeah, it is, and it's got a quarter-turn crown that's a little bit like the Hublot Unico Big Bangs. A quarter turn locks and unlocks the crown, and it's a unique crown. Even that is specific to these models. Rare, once very expensive, initially unloved, and increasingly recognized. Get them while they last, because they made 60 in rose gold and 247 in steel.
Yeah, and why I think the Panerai Ferrari watches are making a comeback is, number one, the bold colors. You've got red dials, you've got yellow dials, you've got Panerais that are sort of off the beaten path, which are really resonating with collectors that want something a little bit different. Number two, the price points are attractive, which as they get purchased and sucked out of the market, the prices, the ones that enter the market, are starting to, go up a little bit. And number three, they're watches that a lot of collectors don't even know about. Like, I didn't even know about this watch until I was stumbling through and seeing it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, is this a Perpetual? And you were obviously like, yes, this is a Perpetual. And I'm like, Panerai does a Perpetual? And you're like, first and last Perpetual. So it's a watch that at $33,000, I think I probably wouldn't be pulling the trigger on. But pre-owned in this kind of shape at a competitive price point, I mean, what other Perpetual, can you get?
And how often can you say, okay, I've got a Panerai that doesn't look like all the other Panerai. I know for a fact they will never make another one. And believe me, the way this Ferrari relationship went down, they will never make another one.
And if they ever did make another one, it would be probably an in-house caliber at a much higher price point.
And it would mean they would have stolen the franchise back from Hublot, which means there would be mega marketing behind it. Like, that would not be a small investment on Panerai's part, which means the early watches would then become connoisseurs pieces.
Exactly.
But it's basically basically a future-proof steel sports watch you can buy now, enjoy forever. It's got a great conversation piece value. It's an awesome icebreaker with other watch guys. And you don't have to be into the Ferrari relationship, but look at our test case. The GP Ferraris had the same sort of market bottom out. Lots of them were available for years after original manufacture,
They're
still
cool.
for sale. And they're going up in value.
They're cool.
So, again, history as our guide. This will be a thing to own someday.
Yeah. So, well, you check through the chat to see if there's any questions that we should answer.
Yeah, what's the price of this Panerai Perpetual right here? We're asking under 10, I think, for this watch.
No, are we? Hold on, let me take a look here.
I think we were asking a very reasonable price for that thing, considering what's in there. I mean, considering if you want to go out and buy the Singer Track 1 chronograph that the same company makes today, it's like a $40,000 watch.
Let's take a look to see here
So,
what we've got going on.
Remember, Marco, I can see in the chat box saying $33,000. That was the price new in 2007. That was the price 11 years ago. Factor in inflation, tame though it's been, and it would cost even more today in inflation-adjusted dollars.
I am looking here on our website. Here we go. Let's see what we've got it at. $13,950.
Okay,
so $33,000 retail, $13,950 for the only perpetual calendar Panerai.
Yeah, so if you've got some decent haggling skills, $20,000 off. And again, remember, that's $33,000 in 2007 money. All right. Okay, moving on. Why don't we go back upscale? Why don't we go back to Patek?
So this one, unfortunately, is sealed in the plastic, so we're not going to be able to take that out, but you should be able to get a look. Here we have the 5235G Patek Philippe. This watch originally came out, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, 2012?
It was first shown in 2011, but the story's even better than that because you sort of got between the wickets. It was shown in 2011, and it took 2 years of development,
correct.
2013.
So shown in 2011 and then finally delivered in 2013. And what was so special about this watch was the fact that it was Patek Philippe's first regulator that they'd come out with. It also had a much more modern feel to the watch and the approach and the display of the apertures. And even more so was as the length of time went on and on, because a watch like this, when when Patek comes out with something different and unique, that's generally the watch that collectors jump after. It's the 5320, it's the pilot's watch, it's this. It's the watch that's off the beaten path, that's going to be a small, very much allocated release. And so this watch came out to lots of fanfare, both positive and negative reviews, but more than anything else, as time went on and the watch wasn't being delivered, questions started, to be asked. What's going on with the watch? Is there an issue with the movement? Can it even be delivered? What's going on with Patek? And, eventually the watch did get delivered, and it was, again, it was pandemonium when they first started getting launched.
Nana Odoro asking in the chat box, Tim, what's your favorite rock band? The Blue Oyster Cult. That was easy. And speaking of blue, you can see these gorgeous blue accents on what I call the DeLorean
what a
dial.
segue.
I'm a master at this. This is what I do for a living. So you can see that dial, which I call the DeLorean dial, features a metallic vertical satin finish from top to bottom. And there's actually an opaline track outboard featuring blue printed minutes for the individual baton-style minute hands separated from the hours and the seconds. What I really love about this watch is that it has that original aesthetic on the dial side, and then if you look at the lugs, if you look at the bezel and the case profile, you're going to notice the well-loved 3448 perpetual calendar of the mid to late 20th century. That reference that ran from about 1962 to about 1985. So you can see that historical profile to the case, which is a nice 40.5 millimeters, so it's got a versatile size. I wish I could show you the case back, because this watch featured all of the advanced research technologies except for the Gyromax SI balance. So it had the silicon hairspring, the silicon pallet wheel, the silicon anchor, all of that executed in a unique application of a micro rotor automatic with an annual calendar. One of the few times you'll see the micro rotor used in an annual calendar application, usually reserved for perpetuals. It got a special designation, no longer the 240. It became the 31260 REG QA, a very special movement that was largely responsible for the long development cycle and the fact that many times during production, they had to slow production of the 5235 because while the components were designed to be produced in series, they wound up requiring a lot more hand finishing and adjustment for delivery, which is great news for you as the customer, because that means the watch was adjusted correctly for delivery and production was low because it was challenging to do so.
Yeah. So, and this is a watch that even over the years have been delivered in very limited numbers. The watch retailed for, I want to say, like 49.5. It was just under 50,000. So the watch was delivered in very few numbers over the years, and then for a while it actually stopped. And there was this brief period where customers didn't know, is it discontinued, is it not discontinued, what's going on? Then a batch of them were sent out into the market, and that's been the last that we've actually seen of the watch since. So, in my opinion, this is going to be a watch that will, I believe, either be come out in a different combination, whether it be, rose gold with a black dial, or so on and so forth. But I think you're going to see very few of these original pieces still get delivered, if any at all.
Yeah, I don't want to say the gate is closed, but as of 2015, the gate was closing, and I would not be shocked if Patek decided, after all, it had a good run, it was a landmark piece, and it's time to end that chapter. I would not be shocked.